Hi, Mike DePung here. Welcome back to Spirit Hill. It seems like it's been a little while since I've created a video, but I am really happy if you're here with me because you're interested in caring and engaged in healing in and into love and light. It's a great thing. It's one of the main reason why we came to this realm. I'm going to begin, and I'm going to be looking down today because I'm going to read a poem, and I'm going to read some thoughts that some notes that I've actually taken, because some of the things that have been going on in the world in this past week and a half or so have been really troubling to me, and I don't know if they have been to you or not, but they are things that call for healing. And healing, I've spoken before, is that which is affected personally, but what happens here happens there. What happens down here happens up there, and what happens up there happens down here. So we affect one another and the collective and what happens. But what I'm going to do is read this poem that I wrote, and it's going to be in the eventual book that I produce. And it's going to be like a container. It's going to be like a form that holds some of my thoughts together as I share just a few things. And this isn't going to be a really long video. Of course, you will know that by looking at the minute signature when you first tune in. So here's the poem. It's called, and remember, first of all, let me remind you that these are things that have to do with grounding, with our personal groundedness and knowing who we are and getting the roots of us deep down into life and understanding. And so this title is this poem is entitled Wavelengths of Life. I think I should have been an artist. I believe, as did Picasso, that we are all born that way. Not only artists, but also musicians, dancers, singers, in tune with the soul of the world. The trick is holding on to it. I think I let go too quickly, and now my palette holds words, not paints. My eyes play over that abandoned palette of vermilion red, flowing orange, glowing yellow, breathing green, deep-throated blue, throbbing indigo, radiating violet, colors of nature, of life, of purity. How do I paint with black words on white paper? My creative imagination must labor hard. She rejects negativity and sloth. She rushes to positivity and effort. Hues of life, the pulsating vibrations of nature, they combine to yield the purity of unified light. Black words on white paper may be rainbows infused to white insight for you to refract into your own rainbows. I would like you to hold on to that thought about rainbows, because rainbows are classically a symbol of hope, something that is beautiful, that reminds us that there is real hope in life. We each can produce rainbows. And these are some of the questions and thoughts that I have at the end of this poem to help people think about, to help whoever might read it in the future, or whoever of you might be listening right now, to think about who you are, and for me to think about who I am. So here are some of these ideas. No matter what I do, if I engage my true core self, my heart, I will express creativity. And I will glow with a natural light of passion and contentment, of building and evolving, of unity and connectivity, of curiosity and progress. It all depends on how I discover, view, and express myself. Some of these things are not easy to do, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Then here's some questions. What pure colors or any sensations of youthful innocence can I recall? How might I recapture any of those or repurpose those energies into who I am and what I have nurtured and cultivated within myself? Now, I will tell you this just on a personal level. I really enjoy artistic works like that one right behind me right there is from a former student. And I just am amazed at her talents and abilities. But I am drawn to colors, and I worked not directly producing because I'm not good at creating forms, but I love color. I think that could have been an artist. I love to sing and I love music, and I dabbled a little bit in singing and playing instruments. And I I think I gave that up too early too in some ways. But what I did cultivate and nurture in my life was my ability to use words. And that's something that you're not necessarily born with. You've got to work at it. Well, of course, all these things you need to work at to some extent. But I know that I have used these things, this ability to communicate in my own way, to purpose into me being able to produce the little rainbows of my life. So there's also this idea of things that I've shared before about the spirits that are about us, that are abundant, that love and that care for all that's going on, that understand this unity that we seek to understand. And so spirit gives us these energies and this light. And so then I ask the question, how do I refract the light of spirit into rainbow works in my life? You might think, what do I feel like creating right now? Spend a minute reflecting. What do you feel like creating? Maybe that's an indication of the kinds of things that mark who you are. How do I see the very molecular essence of physical life all around me and the creative spirit imbued in all things, especially one another, especially one another? If we look at one another and this magnificent world that we are co-creators of, and we come here in physical bodies to experience, as spirit incarnate, we come here to experience this physical creation that we've been part of. How different would it make things go on this earth? How different would life look if we saw the creativity, the creative spirit in everything, in one another? How does observing creativity show me the unity of all things? Whether it's visual, audio, kinesthetic, like in dance, or works of art that resonate with me and connect me to spirit and give me joy. Just joy for no reason, just joy. Joy creates rainbows. So we find something to do that we want to do, that expresses joy, that creates something that yields rainbows of hope, not only for ourselves, but for others who are about us. And how will this help me see myself in my natural flow in the universe? These ideas and thoughts kind of derive from the stuff that's going on in the world right now. What's happened in Afghanistan, what's happened in Haiti, what's happening that goes unreported for millions upon millions of people around the world. Those who are oppressed, the women who are oppressed in certain societies and cultures, those who have been enslaved historically and are still suffering from the effects of that slavery. Those like the indigenous peoples, especially here in the United States and North America and South America in general, that were their cultures were subverted and destroyed, not totally, but to a large extent, by white colonialists, by European colonialists. And I struggle with ego and even maintaining civility about some of these ideas and about people who come back now with that same attitude, this colonialist, nationalistic attitude that destroys, that doesn't see creativity. They only want to control, and control has nothing to do with creativity. Here's what I want to say. Love and light is not all tiptoeing through the daisy fields. Love calls for honesty and fearlessness, not usually easily. It's not easily done. Light exposes darkness that needs to be dealt with on both personal and collective levels. Without these, we live in desperate resignation to mediocrity. A hopeless acceptance of life and lifestyles devoid or nearly devoid of love and light. I don't see any nobility or commendation in such a way of life. So for peoples who are oppressed, sometimes they get this attitude like there's nothing that can be done about it until those people rise up who can produce rainbows and give hope and give guidance and leadership. True leadership encourages this freedom and creativity on a personal level. And the more it happens on a personal level, the more it affects the collective. And this is what I would like to see happen in some of these very desperate things, because I feel so identified and unified with, interconnected to many of these people in these situations, my brothers and sisters, that it affects me. It sometimes creates real downer times for me and depression. And I have to engage in these things, these words, these journeys that I take of creating that helps produce the rainbow. And then that I just hope in some little way produces enough to give some others, maybe like you who are listening, a little bit of hope. The greatest hope and reason we all come into this plane of existence is to know self in order that we may appreciate this great physical expression of spirit, of infinite intelligence taking on tangible form in all of its intricacies all around us. Those things which humans with ego sometimes perceive as both great and horrible. We look at things that happen and we say that's horrible. Yes, it can be. But we have to remember that each one individual in those horrible situations, or if we are ones that are in that horrible situation, that we can come to our true identity, that we are spirit incarnate, that no matter what condition we're in, we can be free and we can create with who we are and what we are, and we can produce rainbows. It all starts at the individual level. There is no hope without that. So we want to produce those rainbows. In the horrible times, we may know the power, peace, and divinity we each as individuals possess. This is the hope, this is the goal and reality of engaging in love and light and healing as an individual expression of spirit incarnate. I can express my divinity in any circumstance at any time, but as a human with ego, I have challenges to face. I have challenges to face in awakening to spiritual consciousness to be able to arrive at that expression. The really great thing is simply acknowledging this. And the whole course of awakening, we need to realize that that is a definite expression of divinity, just awakening, to say that I'm in the process of learning, of exploring who I am and doing great works of creation, even though they might not look like much to somebody else. We know when we're creating from heart and not ego. So we keep working on self. We keep on transmitting the divine spirit we are as we produce these little rainbows. And this raises the frequencies of life all around us. And then that has its ripple effects out to others, out to nations, out to this whole planet. And this is really important. If we wish to emulate our Mother Earth, giver of life and beauty, we will follow those paths and decisions and acts that gently express respect and balance to and with all. This is what it's all about. It's respect and balance. And when we give that to one another, that would set governments right. That would set society right. But if we don't live in respect and balance, then we lose out on many opportunities. I don't say that things are even wrong or sinful with many of the things that we categorize as horrible acts. But what I will say is that people who commit those things, who sell out to ego and who don't explore self and don't discover heart and don't know that they are spirit incarnate, they are little people, and they miss out on the joys of life. They miss out on the higher frequencies of life. They miss out on the very reason they chose to come here. Let's awaken. Let's be those who enjoy this beautiful experience that we've come here to grab hold of. So this living in respect and balance to and with all, this is truth. This is environmentalism. This is social progress. This is the establishment of equity and equality. So I come back to this. When we live in respect and balance with ourselves, with one another, with nature, with Mother Earth and all of her environments and ecosystems, with others in society, then we're free to create from heart. We're free to create and to produce these little rainbows. I listen to other people, I read poetry, I read others' works, I look at works of art, I listen to great music that I consider great music, and I have to be, you wouldn't consider it great, but I listen to these things and I see them. I watch some great athletic expression or dance, and it inspires me. And those things that they're creating, those little rainbows, it comes to me in white light. And then that inspiration and my intuition using that inspiration can create my own rainbows. So I offer my words to you. Again, at some point, there will be a book that you can purchase that have all of these poems in them and the questions and answers the questions and thoughts that I share, just to simply help us discover self. And again, to think back into the end of the poem where I said that these hues of life, the pulsating vibrations of nature, they combine to yield the purity of unified light. Black words on white paper may be rainbows infused to white insight for you to refract your own rainbows. And maybe your rainbows will take the form of some piece of jewelry you would make. Maybe it would take the form of repairing an engine and restoring an old car that you think is super. Anything that expresses who we are as spirit incarnate creates rainbows, and that gives us hope. Thank you for being here with me today, and I hope this is some kind of encouragement for the weekend and for you to create, which is what you came to do. Until next time, love and peace.